morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever it is you are watching this from and whatever time it is. This is the UP live feed. I'm Elliot Upton. As always, it's Wednesday, 8 p.m. UK time, which is when we are always here. I'm here to answer all of your questions, blow out any myths, anything you need me to do, say, or clarify for you. This can be supplements, it can be nutrition, it can be training, it can be programming, it can be talking about our own products, online training, Live Up, our fat loss program that we're doing currently for both males and females, or in gym training. So we've got people coming in. Hello. As always, we are recording this for YouTube, so if you're watching this here, the chances are you're on this Second Chance Catch-Up TV that we do over on the YouTube channel. For those of you on Instagram who haven't got over to the YouTube channel to check them out, then do get over there. Go over to my profile, which is Elliot Upton, and the Ultimate Performance YouTube channel, and you get a second chance to watch this. You can watch it while you're doing your cardio, anything like that. A lot of you have been asking for podcast versions of these because obviously if you're watching them on YouTube, you are unable to watch them without closing your phone. Now I've started recording podcasts, so I will load them up and I'll give you all details of where these podcasts are going, so then you can plug them in while you're doing your morning walks, while you're getting your steps in, while you're doing your cardio, and watch them without having to open your phone. I know I am great to you guys. You're welcome. I'm just gonna scan down, see what's coming in, just in case I've missed anything. Vanessa, hello. Ash, Sam, Rocket, Pokerlifter, Mozilla, Eves, Mozilla, hello. Right, so let's come in with some questions. Let's see what we have got. Roxanne, hello. As always, just in case we have any silent moments, I keep my trusty notebook here somewhere. So we'll go through some little points that I picked up on during the week, which kind of frustrate me. What have I written first? Stop worshipping Instagram personality fitness gurus. Ooh, this is going to be a fun one. What don't I like about that? What you have to be able to do, folks, out there, anyone who's on Instagram, anyone who's on Facebook, anyone who's on YouTube, is you're going to have to start to be able to differentiate between who is a fitness personality, who is basically developed a large following for whatever reason. It's usually taking their clothes off, or it's supporting some detox tea scheme, or selling Herbalife, or whatever, or potentially a reality TV douchebag who's made it to a large number of followings. And the easiest thing for these people to do is to then sell a fitness program, because it's something that they know that all of you want, all of you need, and all of you will pay for. However, it's very important for you all to understand the difference between a trainer, a coach, someone who knows what they're doing, someone with a track record, and someone who has a moral responsibility to you to do things for you and do them the right way, versus an Instagram famous celebrity or personality who is just trying to make a quick buck out of you. Learn how to make the difference. The key is usually to communicate with them, ask questions, don't just make purchases based on base value, because it's a silly thing to do. Or ask me. I'm usually going to be relatively brutal about what you let's say who you should be following and who you shouldn't, obviously within legal parameters, because I can't say too much, but I'll never lie to you guys. Tim Wright, hi, what's the best way to train for a chest imbalance? One pectoral is notably more formed. First off, something that you may have to take into account there, Tim, is that you may genetically have very different shaped pecs. I have this, for instance. The left pectoral on my body, the origin point on the medial side, is about 1.5 inches higher than the left. So it doesn't matter how lean I get, I always looking extremely imbalanced. That's the first thing to consider. That may be an issue. Secondly, train unilaterally or with dumbbells as opposed to barbells. Obviously, you want to be gaining the right amount of strength. You want to be exercising each side independently of the other. So doing things with fixed weights or even potentially barbells isn't going to do much for you. So first of all, take into account it could just be a genetic thing. You may just be structurally slightly different side to side. Secondly, make sure you are training each side individually. If you also have a strength imbalance, always train the weaker side first. And then when you train the stronger side, stop at the same amount of reps. Don't train them unevenly. Okay, what have we got? We've got people going. For those of you on YouTube, when you see me drop out like this and I'm scrolling through the questions, I'm just trying to find the next question, so try not to get bored. I will always come back. Michael Biatch, welcome. Jumbles, hi, I've started doing more weights, less cardio training and kept the diet the same, and I feel like my clothes are getting tighter. Should I be keeping up the cardio as well? It depends, you know. What's potentially happening is you're actually starting to build a little bit of muscle. Now, Jumbles, that doesn't mean you're going to get big by any means. It just means that there's something pushing back against your clothes. You know, your body is essentially toning itself up. If you find that you're gaining body fat, I wouldn't necessarily say you need to do more cardio. I would say you need to get your diet in check. Are you still, you know, you're going out on the weekend, are you drinking? Are your calories still a bit high? Are you still having the odd cheat that maybe you shouldn't be having? Try to make minimal changes. You want to get as big a result as you possibly can with as little effort as you can. That will always allow you further, more progression, more space for progression over time. So little changes. If you're finding that you're gaining a bit of fat despite taking up strength training, part of that is going to be the fact you're building muscle, which is a really, really good thing because therefore your metabolism is going to be elevated, you'll get lean much easier, but also make sure your diet is genuinely in check. Loads of you coming in. Daria, good point. I do try to make good points where I can. Loads and loads and loads and loads of you coming in. Nick King, what is the best shake to have for building lean muscle? Honestly, Nick King, the best shake to have is real food. If you want to build good quality muscle, healthy muscle, and a muscle that's going to stay there long term, try to get up there with food. Minimize your intake of shakes. Now, let's say, for an average male, let's say you're 80 kilos and you're trying to get bigger. Let's say you're trying to get to 100 kilos. You're probably going to want to be on between 4,000 and 6,000 calories a day. Now, at the very least, at least 4,000 of those, well, let's say 5,000 of those 6,000 calories need to be proper food. If you then want to add a big shake to that, I would suggest a couple of scoops of whey protein, some oats or similar, and some peanut butter is a really good way of cheating and getting calories up. None of them are particularly inflammatory foods. Obviously, if your body is inflamed, if there's not a good environment, a good cellular health level, you're not going to hypertrophy. You're not going to be able to reproduce cells and help yourself to grow. But stick to food as much as you can. If you need to push yourself over the edge, a good post-workout shake is going to be something like oats, protein. And if you really want to bump the calories up high, you can take in peanut butter as well. Laura Cupcakes, hi, I just bought online training. Please can you explain 4010 when it comes to sets and exercise? Okay, so Laura, what you're looking at when you see 4010 is the tempo of the exercise. By tempo, I mean that's the speed at which you perform the movement. So for instance, we will start with a bench press. Right? If we're at the top of a bench press, the first number is the time taken to lower that weight. So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4. The second number is the time spent at the bottom in the stretch position, basically, which in that case is 0. And then the 1 second is how long you take to push it up. And then the other 0 is how long it's at the top. So essentially, if you had a bench press, for instance, that was 4010, you would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Now, the same would apply to something like a squat. It would be a 4-second lowering. The only time that may get slightly confusing, so I will demonstrate that as well, is something where you're actually pulling a movement. So for instance, if we're on a lat pull down, or lower myself down a little bit more, we're on a lat pull down, this is the start position, okay, up above your head. So in this case, you would switch the numbers round slightly. It would be 1, which is the equivalent of pressing away on the bench press, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. So really, for most of you, that first number is going to be the one that counts, and that is the lengthening phase of the muscle. So in the case of the bench press, the chest here is lengthening as I lower down. In the case of the pull down or lat pull up, the muscle is lengthening as you're stretching up. So they're slightly different, but if you use that count 4 seconds when the muscle is lengthening and you'll be fine. It's getting kind of hot in these rhinos. Bonus points to anyone who can tell me what movie that's from. Molly Super, hello. We've got an audience in the background there laughing away. What have we got? How do I get those toned abs? Which toned abs, Molly? This is a question that gets asked by literally every single person, every single day, every single hour. How do you get toned abs? You get toned abs by making sure your diet is bang on in order to get toned abs. This means no sweets, no candy, no going out and drinking in the evenings, no cake, no cheats. Make sure you're doing what you need to do with your diet in order to achieve your goals. People want to do exercises, people want to do this. How much of that should I do? What kind of exercise should I do for my abs? Exercise some dietary restraint. That is rule number 1 if you want a six-pack. The cleaner your diet and the longer you keep your diet clean, the more likely you are to see your six-pack. Of course, within that there is some genetic variables. Some people, especially females, don't have the density to have a really, really visible six-pack. The muscles aren't thick enough or full enough. But that's not to say you can't get them. This is just something that you do need to take into account. You may need to get super, super lean before you get them. Louise ZP, is there going to be air conditioning put in the Manchester gym? It's sweltering there right now. Louise ZP, I would imagine there will be, yes, as a start. How on earth do you think you have got it badly when I work out here in Marbella in 45-degree heat in a gym with no air conditioning. You tell me how hard you've got it. Go on, you tell me how hard that must be for you in Northern England. No, all jokes aside, they possibly do. Ask the guys at reception. Hopefully, if they have some, they will switch it on for you. If not, then we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out, don't worry. Tips on how to achieve a deep squat. I have a very long femur, can barely get to parallel. Patty, that is something that affects almost all women. It's just the way you guys are built. That's why you've got lovely, long, luscious legs. First port of call is going to be if you're adamant about back squatting. I mean, obviously back squatting can sometimes be a little bit more beneficial to a degree because you can put extra load on there. First port of call is to widen your stance. Okay, if you widen your stance, if you know you've got a long femur, that's going to allow you a greater range of motion and keeping your spine upright as you go in. However, that does kind of rely on flexible adductors and flexible hamstrings, so you are going to have to work on that. Secondly, by increasing or putting your heels on a wedge, that's also going to help you get slightly lower whilst keeping your torso upright because it alters the mechanics ever so slightly. Finally, what I would potentially recommend ahead of everything else, almost all females are more favourable with a front squat. Rather than back squatting, front squat, you're probably going to get a lot more out of it. Now, of course, yes, it is difficult because you're going to feel like you're being choked out. It can sometimes be painful. After a little while, you will get your technique down and it will be worth it. By front squatting, you shift the center of mass forward slightly, usually about 4 inches, which is going to be enough to help you keep your body position upright. Over the next couple of days, I'll film a video on that, explaining it very, very literally. I'll get 2 people, one with a good squat, one with a bad squat, and show you how you can change that. But my recommendation would be, number 1, if you can, front squat instead, and that will change it massively. Secondly, if you would still rather back squat, then widen your stance, but make sure you're very, very mobile. Lots of you coming in. Nick King, really helpful, thanks. You know, no worries at all, Nick King. Jumbles. So, change my diet. Could my protein powder be to do with it? Could your protein powder to be doing it? I mean, can you sit there now, Jumbles, and tell me, have you cheated on your diet in the last 3 weeks? Tell me that. In any way, shape or form, liquid or food, or missed meals. Tomo, hi Elliot, what methods do you use when starting a fat loss phase? Macros, estimate of calories per pound of body weight, when to reintroduce certain foods, training split. Tomo, the easiest thing, because me personally, obviously every trainer does it slightly differently. With our online training, we do macro specific dieting. With the Live Up programs, fat loss programs for both men and women, we don't do macro specific. We actually use set guidelines that I put together. But what I like to do if I'm taking a client from a starting point is I take that client and I say, right, what have you eaten for the last 3 days? It depends on the client. We usually say 3 days, and I'll take a full food diary. What have they eaten? What have they drunk? From those 3 days, I work out on average calories. I always do it over a couple of days because it doesn't allow them to get into particular patterns. So I work out what the average calories were from those 3 days. Then we say that is their daily intake. Now, are they gaining weight? Are they losing weight? Or are they maintaining weight? Now, most clients will come to us maintaining weight. So I know that roughly those mean calories we took over the 3 days, that's their maintenance. The easiest thing for me to do is then to take away from that maintenance. The reason I don't like this formula or that formula or the other formula or what this textbook says is because none of them take into account human variables. Your body is not a mathematical machine. If you have been ill in the past, that formula doesn't work. If you're currently ill, that formula doesn't work. If you're emotionally stressed, physically stressed, mentally stressed, overtrained, you've had a bad day, those formulas don't work. If you have digestive issues, those formulas don't work. If you're not sleeping properly, you guessed it, those formulas don't work. So treat the body as it is. It is unique, it is individual, it's not a mathematical equation. So for me, I don't like these equations because I think they take people down the wrong path. Look at what is happening, what are you taking in, and what is your body doing with it? That's your clearest sign as to where to start. As I say, for most people, they will be maintaining when they come to me at a particular calorie level. I can then say, right, well, I know that you should be taking, let's say 250 to 500 calories away from that point, whether that is a combination of exercise or a massive deficit in diet. I don't like to create too big a gap between maintenance and the calorie deficit, certainly at the start. The way I've always seen it with the body is that it's kind of like a sleeping dog. If you sneak up behind a sleeping dog and shock it, it's going to turn around and bite you. Your body will do the same. It will resist fat loss if you give it too much of a shock. Whereas if you gradually, in my opinion, obviously there's going to be different coaches with very, very different opinions. If you gradually take stuff away and you start a calorie taper, not only is your body going to continually drop fat because it hasn't had that shock, but also psychologically and physiologically, the client isn't going to push back against you because they don't feel like much has changed. Okay, so dieting isn't as simple as the mathematics. You have to take into account the human side of that. It's super important, and I think it's what 99% of coaches don't do because it's the difficult bit. Matt Hare, what's up? Matt J. Hare is one of our live up members, and mad result you are getting, Matt. Mad result. I know you've had a few challenges along the way, but you are smashing it now, so keep that up. Do feel free to tell everyone and anyone in this chat what you think about the Live Up program. And me, of course, you know. Can you advise on the best way for female to work out their optimum calorie deficit? Ollie, I'm hoping, welcome back by the way, I'm hoping you saw what I just did when I say take the average of 3 days worth of a food diary, figure out what their maintenance is from that, and then take away from there. That's the easiest way to do it, and often most accurate. How to balance maintaining your calorie intake to avoid any muscle loss. Himanshu Chopra, the key here is do it slowly. Allow yourself enough lead time into it. One of the issues and why people tend to kind of take one step forward, one step back when they're dieting, or the whole bulking and cutting trend, is that they try to do everything far too quickly. Now, the key to dieting down lean without losing loads and loads of muscle, for most people, don't get me wrong, some people are genetically lucky and they don't have to pay so much attention to it, but the key to getting lean without losing loads of muscle is to give yourself time, is to take yourself down there very, very gradually without overly stressing the body. What most people do is they give themselves a month or 6 weeks or 8 weeks, they create a huge calorie deficit, they train as much as they possibly can to try and get that fat off, and then end up rebounding. They crash back the other way, wonder why 6 months later they're as fat as they were when they started. Whereas if they'd just given themselves that whole 6 months to get lean, they'd get to the end goal and they would stay there. This is a difference. So, Himanshu, take your time. Louise ZP, I expected that. Oh, honestly, Louise, come out to UP Marbella and you try the heat here. It is astonishing. And we're not even in the hot months yet, July and August. Dairy equals inflammation. Raza, I would suggest yes. For 99% of people, it's going to cause digestive problems. Not only that, but for me, the major concern for me is dairy and how it's farmed now, and how the cattle are fed and raised. It's going to massively increase your estrogenic toxicity. Now, I could go into that for hours and hours and hours, but to keep it simple and something that will communicate with you all really, really easily, as a guy, for instance, you're going to end up with a boner about as hard as a soggy blancmange. You're going to have no sex drive whatsoever. You're probably going to have bitch tits and love handles, okay? So too much excessive estrogen and chemical intake is going to result in those things. We're going to keep it really, really simple. It's also potentially going to get you quite depressed, which you don't really want, and you'll cry at The Simpsons. Females, you're going to store more fat around your middle, you're going to store more fat around your thighs and bum, and it's going to be super, super stubborn. Potentially arms and upper arms are also going to be an issue, and it's going to play havoc with your fertility. So yes, I do recommend, unless you know exactly where your milk, your dairy products are coming from, you know, if you've got an organic farmer down the road that literally does nothing but feed his cows grass, they get to run free, they have an amazing life, and then he milks them when they're ready to be milked, that's one thing. However, most supermarket bought milk, very, very different kettle of fish. So I would recommend staying away from dairy, yes. It will cause inflammation. It's not going to help your body, overall. Richard Dredd, hello, how are you? Jumbles, I don't have a diet. Then, Jumbles, what you're asking me, you already know the answer to. You've asked me how to get leaner, get a six-pack, whatever, but you're not dieting. I just thought changing my training would change things to start with. No, it's all about your diet. Laura J, hello. Lemon and water on an empty stomach helps fat loss and edema, possible. So popular nowadays in Turkey. Yes, absolutely. I have lemon and water every morning when I remember. But yes, absolutely. It's going to help stimulate digestive function. It's going to help. They say to alkalize the body. How much truth there is in that, I don't know. But what I do know for a fact is that when I have my lemon and water first thing in the morning, I digest my food better the whole day. I don't get as bloated. So, but I have forgotten it the last few mornings. I know. MJ Rich, hail it, how's the hammy? It's actually a bit better today. It doesn't seem to be as severe as I first thought, because when it went pop, for anyone who doesn't know this, yesterday I was doing my sprints. We'll go into this next time it gets quiet. Yesterday I was doing my sprints and my left hammy went bang on the 6th or 7th run. Thought it was a real bad tear. Turns out I don't think it's that bad. I was obviously just being a bit of a Jessie. But I've gone and done a bit of swimming today and it seems to have really loosened it up. So yeah, all good. Thanks for asking. Himanshu, thanks buddy, you guys are amazing. No problem, and thank you. We do try to be our very, very best. Laura Cupcakes, laughing face, rather. Ian Burns, under 10% body fat for a man would be lean. Yes, absolutely it would be. Roxanne Louisa, I've been told it's 80% diet and 20% training, is that right? Roxanne Louisa, no, it's 100% diet and 100% training. They need to work together. You can't out-train a bad diet, reasonably out-train a bad diet if you have a normal life. You shouldn't be turning around and saying, you know, allowing yourself a large percentage to just do whatever the hell you want. If you are lean, yes, allow yourself a bit of freedom to enjoy life and enjoy the things that you want to do. However, if you are not lean, you shouldn't be saying, oh yeah, I'll have 20%, I'll have 2 days off a week, I'll have this, that, and the other. You're never going to get lean if you do that. You need to do extraordinary things to get an extraordinary result. If you want to be lean, if you want to look different to everybody else, you're going to have to do something different to everybody else. That is almost completely down to your diet. You have to commit to it and you have to be consistent with it. With regards to training, that's essentially improving your shape. It has to be in line with your diet and your diet has to be in line with your training. So to say that it's 80-20, it's just one of those things that I think people like to say in order to give themselves some freedom and not feel that guilty about having a cheat meal. But what do most people who sit there in the evenings and eat a massive cheat meal say? Oh yeah, it's my cheat day. Yeah, but you've cheated 3 times already this week and you don't even train or diet. Standard. Ian Burns, what would be lean for a woman? For females, I would suggest a healthy level of lean, i.e. something that is not going to cause hormonal issues, because if you get too lean, you are going to end up with hormonal issues. That also looks athletic, but doesn't look too dry or lose the femininity. Is usually somewhere between about 14 and 16% is a really nice place to be. You know, that should be the lower limit in my opinion for women. Madam Eva, is it lemon, water and Himalayan salt? Yes, it can be. Tomo, thanks for the answer, mate. Would you advise a low-carb diet initially for a certain period of time once you have looked at a deficit from a food diary taken? Tomo, it depends on the client. Low-carb is always very, very useful for many, many reasons. If you go to upfitness.com, you can look at the low-carb bootcamp articles we've put up there, which give you a good breakdown of the kind of what and why we choose to do it sometimes. But that is not to say that it's right for every single client. Now, to keep it really, really simple, clients I would potentially keep carbohydrates in for, first of all, women. I try to keep carbs in for women. Various reasons, mainly hormonal issues and their ability to deal with their menstrual cycle and stress levels. So usually I don't take carbs away from women if I can avoid it. Number 2, people who I know are going to be psychologically slightly resistant to dieting, i.e. if I take carbs away, I know full well that they're going to cheat anyway. Okay, so what's the lesser of 2 evils? Do I let them have a bowl of oats per day, or do I say no carbs at all and know that they're going to eat 3 Mars bars, a pizza and a chocolate cake each week? The lesser of 2 evils, right? So if I don't think that a client is mentally in a good enough place or will have to have too much supervision to be able to do low carb, then I won't take carbs away. Can it be useful for people? Yes, it can, but you need to make a bit of a judgment call on that if you're training someone to say, is it right for this client? It isn't as black and white as it may seem. Right. How do you gain weight if you are very underweight? Should you consume more carbs and or more protein? You need to consume a lot more of both. So for a female, let's say, you know, I would go for about 120 grams of protein would be your absolute, if you're trying to gain weight, would be your absolute upper limit. However, if you find you're having digestive problems with that, then you may need to bring that down slightly, because an inflamed digestive system or any kind of inflammatory response in your body is going to stop you from gaining good weight. Secondly, keep your carbs high. Yes, absolutely. But again, make sure that you're having enough fats in your diet in order to be hormonally healthy. And calories. You know, what I find that most especially females, most males, when they come to me and they say, oh, I can't possibly eat enough food, you know, I'm eating more than I can possibly eat, and I want to get big, I want to be 100 kilos, I want to get massive, but I'm eating as much food as I can, what supplements can I take, blah, 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 blah. Usually when I break down these food diaries, these people are eating about 1,900 to 2,000 calories, which is, to be honest, it's piss poor. I could eat that for breakfast before I wake up. Most females tend to be eating about 1,000 calories a day. Realistically, if you're wanting to gain some good size, you're going to need to be eating between 2,500 and 3,500 calories a day if you want to be putting on weight. So you do need to be putting food away. So yes, more carbs, yes, more protein, but don't do too much protein, and make sure your overall calorie intake is high, because it's probably not as high as you think. And by that, I don't mean eating shitty food that it's really easy to get calories from. That's not smart. Inan, thanks man, you're always super helpful and supportive. You're most welcome. Ivan Pastor, welcome back. Hey, last week you recommended carb cycling for helping to lose the last bit of stomach fat. Can you give me an example of what would work in a week? No, because what you're asking for there, again, Ivan, is specifics. If you want specifics from me/us, then you've got to pay for that shit, man. You've got to pay for that. We don't do this for free. What I will say is, with regards to your high days and low days, I don't mess around with medium days. I don't care for medium days. I think they're a bit silly. So high days and low days, what I will suggest is just make sure there is a big contrast between the two. Make sure your low is really low and make sure your high is really, really high. That allows your body to create a deficit on the non-training days where it's likely to burn through fat, but you're not doing that at the expense of muscle. So I'm not going to give you numbers because they are too variable. They could be too very different, and I would have to see you and see how you train and see what you're doing, which is what I get paid to do. So make sure the low days are very, very low and the high days are very, very high. Just create a big contrast, and then trial and error will do the rest. Roxanne Louisa, I train 6 days a week, but try very hard to keep my diet and haven't had a cheat day in about 4 weeks. Thanks, dude. Training 6 days a week, you're probably not going to drop much body fat then. You're going to be overtraining there, Roxanne. Unless your recovery, you're sleeping extremely well, your genetic recovery factors are extremely good, and your diet is very much in check, then you're maybe going to be training just a tad too much there. I wouldn't be vastly happy with training a female that often. Or a male, for that matter. How many days a week should be low, high? Depends when you're training. Go high on your training days, low on your non-training days. Where do you learn all your knowledge from? Ian Burns, I learn all of my knowledge from books, from courses I did when I was younger. The fact that I've been doing this for 11, 12 years, hands-on training, learning from the people above me like Nick, learning from the people below me, our juniors. You learn something new every day from every single person you meet. It's just a case of being observant, taking in a bit of everything from everyone you see, meet. More importantly than that, questioning it, because I think a lot of people in our industry just take blind information and try to regurgitate it as their own without actually understanding it, and certainly not understanding how to apply that information, which ultimately that's more important. If you want results out of your clients and you want to get the best out of them, then you have to make sure what you learn you apply in the right way. But yeah, just learn. Open your eyes, open your ears, open your mind, and you will pick up plenty of information. Whether it's this industry, any industry, people, the world is a fascinating place. I think most of us just talk too much, so we don't listen enough. He says, who sits here and speaks bollocks for an hour every single week. Yay! Danny Camp, what is an unhealthy body fat for a female? Too low is going to be around single digits, which is not somewhere I'm ever willing to take a female. This is why when I get asked to do comp prep, I refuse to do it. I think it's incredibly, incredibly unhealthy, irresponsible and idiotic, but I'm only ever proved right by every single person that does it and ends up in hospital. And too high is when your body is unhealthy and inflamed. If you've got fat around your organs, if it's causing you health issues, then that's too high. Everybody is different. Himanshu, what would you advise to take out the last bit of fat layer on one's core? One's core, that was ever so posh. So that abs could pop out. I have around 15% body fat and finding it difficult to get that fat layer out. Again, balanced diet and muscle loss. Gradually take your calories down. Depends what you're on, Himanshu. If you're already on, let's say you're on 1,000 calories, then you need to reverse diet. Whereas if you're on 2,500 calories, you still have calories to take away. So, look at your calorie balance. What's happening? How do I lose stubborn belly fat? Tom Carr, first of all, make sure your diet is in check, and secondly, be consistent. Be consistent. It's going to take time. Your belly fat is kind of survival fat. It stays there because it thinks, okay, if I ever get into trouble, I'm going to need some store of energy. This is why the belly fat specifically stays there for a very, 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 very long time. You have to be consistent. You have to be willing to chip away at it. You know, if you're going out drinking, you're doing this, or you're missing training sessions, or, you know, you diet hard for 2 weeks and you crash for one, that's not going to cut it. And if you're being consistent, then it will eventually go. Tips on improving flexibility with age. Tech Night, just move. Keep moving. Do you know what? People say that we get old because, we stop moving because we get old. The reality is we get old because we stop moving. Use it or lose it. If you use your body, you use your joints, you move in the way that your body wants to move in a varied way. That's not just to say, you know, as much as I advocate weight training, one of the reasons I don't move as well as I used to move is because all I really do is weight train now. Whereas I should be swimming, I should be running, I should be doing more yoga, I should be climbing trees, I should be climbing frames, I should be doing all sorts of stuff. So move it. If your body is starting to lose mobility, get it back by using it the way it's supposed to be used. If you do that, you'll be a lot younger, a lot healthier for longer even. Ido Portal, if you go and follow him, obviously tell him I sent you there, like referrals or some shit like that. He's a really good guy to watch. Yes, he's a bit weird and you wouldn't want to be doing the kind of stuff that he does in public because people will probably commit you to an insane asylum, but he moves incredibly well. You know, he's got a good outlook on things, he teaches well, so worth checking out. Learn how to use your body and it will reward you. Ivan, sweet, cheers again. Last two questions. Your recommended exercise for abs, obliques, and any supplements to support sore joints such as glucosamine. The glucosamine can work. You can use Megacytus, also works. Omega-3 fish oils will work brilliantly. Curcumin, anti-inflammatory stuff like curcumin. Go to upfitness.com, go to the supplement store, or go to the search bar and type in curcumin. Our curcumin will help rid you of joint pain very, very quickly indeed. With regards to exercises for your abs and obliques, the best exercises are often the simplest ones. Everybody uses ab exercises that they see all over Instagram, or they use ab exercises that they can't execute correctly. For me, the top three, get a pen and paper and write this down because I say it every single time, but I think most of you forget. Number one is just a floor-based crunch. Learn how to execute a floor-based crunch properly. If you know how to do that, that's the basis of all your ab work. Secondly, a reverse crunch, and that is bringing your knees to your chest rather than your chest to your knees. That is the second one. Third and final, a V-sit, gymnast style V-sit. For me, if I had 3 ab exercises, I wanted to get amazing abs, I had 3 ab exercises, those would be the 3. I would do them every day, maybe every other day for 3 or 4 sets, and then start to load them, add weight to them, do some high reps, some low rep, load it up. Those would be the 3. So reverse crunch, crunch, V-sit. You're only eating 50. 50 what? I'm assuming more than 50 calories. That would be silly if not. Roxanne Louisa, no problem. Don't train too much. I'm only eating less than 1,000 calories a day, and being a teen just means I'll have bloated belly, also 30% body fat too low. Tom Kai, if you're eating 1,000 calories a day and you're more than 2.5 years of age, which I would assume so because you have an Instagram profile and you can write to me, you need to be eating more food. If you're eating that little amount of food, you're really, really going to struggle to get lean. Can you diet hard on calories lower than 8 calories per pound and for how long? Potentially you can. You're going to lose a shitload of muscle doing that, so I wouldn't suggest you do it. If you do it, I would certainly not suggest you stay there for long. You know, if I was going to drop someone down to the equivalent of 8 calories per pound, I'd probably only do it for a day or so before, you know, it would be part of a heavily contrasting cycle. Like for instance, one of the things I really do like to do, and I've said to Ivan here, is that I like to really heavily contrast my high days and low days. So on a rest day, for instance, not underfeed them is the wrong word, but I don't give people many calories, you know, anywhere between 1,000 and 2,000, but on training days, I could give them between 3,000 and 5,000. I like that contrast. For me, it's not necessarily about how low you go for a day, for instance. It's about working out how low have you gone that week. What is the average amount of calories? Let's say, you know, 14,000 is an average amount of calories equating to 2,000 a day, but you could do 5,000 on one day, you could do 1,000 on another day, you could do 3,000 on the other day and contrast it like that. You can go low with your calories and your body will work with it. But you don't want to stay there too long because it can have negative effects on your diet, especially if you're doing it in a linear fashion where you just slice calories away and you keep them there. That's not that smart. So if you go in that low, don't stay there for much more than a day or so. Why am I going to struggle to get lean eating what less than 1,000 calories? Because Tom Kite will have a negative effect on your thyroid. So your thyroid is the gland that is responsible for how much energy you're burning during the day. If you don't, at night for that matter, if you only give your body so much fuel, eventually, because it's efficient and it's very, very clever, it will learn to only burn so much fuel. Now, by eating slightly more over time, building it up, your body says, well, okay, if I can burn 2,000 calories worth of fuel because I've been given all of this food, and then you take away a little bit again, suddenly your body's burning fuel up here, but you've only given it this much food. Therefore, that gap is where you're going to be burning fat. What you've done there is take away far too many calories, and your body is then going to resist fat loss. Okay, so gradually take the calories back up. Trust me. It's kind of what I do for a living. Hi there, I'm like you, I do a lot of long haul travel with work. How do you deal with your supplements whilst traveling? You can take them with you. Obviously, I'm never traveling for more than a 24-hour hit. So I put them in my suitcase, I take my magnesium to help me sleep, I take the zinc to help my immune system and generally help all the processes in my body. I take vitamin D3, which I carry with me everywhere, helps me with insulin sensitivity, helps me with my immune system, general energy. I will also take, what have I said, zinc, D3, magnesium. I'll take digestive enzymes everywhere I go. I'll take omega-3 fish oils, again, everywhere I go. Take berberine, a few other little bits and bobs that I take there, but they all just go in my suitcase. I don't have any problems with my supplementation. You know, your biggest problem always when traveling is food. But if you're smart about it, you make the right choices, and then potentially you can put a load of food, depending on the length of your journey, you can put a load of food on your carry-on. That can really help. So supplements not too much of an issue, just chuck them in your suitcase. Obviously, it's worth, if you're going somewhere like United Arab Emirates, for instance, it's worth checking what is legal, because they could have some weird rule that you don't want to be caught out on. You know, if you've taken, for instance, if you take certain pre-workouts, they may stop you at customs if they spot them and be like, right, you're going into a jail for the next week. It's not your fault, but it's worth checking those things. Just have a bit of an eye for that. But on the whole, you'll be okay. Isn't it all about daily average over the week? Why does contract work better than the flatline average? Yes, it absolutely is about the average over the week. As I mentioned a minute ago, don't stress too much about what someone's taking in over the day. Think about it weekly. For me, do you know what? Why does the contrast work better than the flatline average? Your body likes contrast. It likes to adapt to things. Now, by creating a big calorie and carb contrast, which is the way I choose to work, I know that when I fuel someone up for a training session, that they're going to train damn hard, that we're going to get the most out of that session. But I know that when they're resting or it's just a cardio day, that A, they don't need as much, and B, I can take a load out because it's going to create an energy deficit. It's going to switch the metabolic pathway potentially, depending on the client, and it's going to get them burning fat. So for me, what I've always found is that when people say, oh, you can't build muscle while you're burning fat, there's no science behind this, but on countless clients over the last 12 years, I've built a shitload of muscle whilst burning a shitload of fat. How have I done that? By heavily contrasting their carb and calorie cycles. There's something in that. Fuel the muscles in order to allow them to lift and create a demand for growth, but create enough of an energy deficit on certain days, or enough energy deficit at a regular period to create a need for the body to burn fat and burn through it. For me, the best way to do that is super low days and super high days. MDEB1, female, 70 kilos. I already know where this is going before I've read it. Body fat 23%, squatting body weight, deadlifting body weight, leg press more than twice body weight. What should I be working towards and what is realistically achievable? MDEB, that's very, very strong, but there's no number. What do you want to work against? Set yourself some goals. That is a very, very, it's an unanswerable question, because, you could be an absolute genetic freak and an insane lifter like Steffi Cohen, who lifts way above what I've ever seen a normal female lift. Or you could be slightly mechanically disadvantaged and not able to lift in a certain way. So for me to put those goals upon you is not really something I can do. What I would suggest is whatever you're lifting now, plan to lift 20 kilos more than that next year. Work towards that and you'll probably do okay. Yes, Beverly, Warren, you're welcome. Ivan Pastor, cheers again. One last question. You can have as many questions as you want. Ivan, you're always very, very polite, and you always ask for one extra question. You can have as many as you want. It's not a problem. That's what I'm here for. One last question. I saw you recommend zinc in the morning. Is it good for energy? I have to wake up early for work and I'm a pretty shit early riser. Ivan, yes, you want to be taking zinc. It's an activator. It kind of activates a lot of things going on in your body, so you don't really want to be taking it at night. But 30 milligrams of zinc first thing in the morning helps you with I think officially it's like 340 something different vital processes in your body. Zinc helps, it's needed as a substrate to allow those reactions to happen. So it's vital for your body and something that we're going to be very deficient in. So for most people, adding zinc to their diet or supplementing with zinc, 30 milligrams in the morning is going to be really, really beneficial. Another thing, if you have a real issue, take it as part of my supplement plan this morning is carnitine. L-carnitine, if you chuck that in, take 2,000 milligrams of L-carnitine first thing in the morning, that's going to give you a real clear boost. That helps to shuttle fatty acids to the mitochondria and help your body burn fatty acids quicker, and it does give you a real rapid boost of energy. You can even use acetyl L-carnitine, which is a good brain booster. So there's many things you can use to give yourself a bit of a kick that doesn't involve caffeine. Hatsi, hey mate, 5 milligrams of omega-3s daily on UP Live. Is that roughly 4 to 5 capsules? That depends, Hatsi, on how much you have in your capsules. Most capsules will be between 750 milligrams and 1.2 milligrams. So you're going to have to look on the back of the tub that you have specifically and then work it out. Thanks for answering, mate. I'll play around with that. Thanks, no problem, UFit. Crystal and Vanilla, what supplements do you recommend for a vegan diet? Big question, because you're going to be deficient in an awful lot. First and foremost, go to upfitness.com and go to the search bar, type in Live Up Essentials, and that will bring you the supplement stack, the essential supplement stack that I've put together that every female should be taking for general health and body composition. Now, in addition to that, there's a good chance as a vegan or vegetarian that you're going to be deficient in a bunch of stuff. Number one, L-carnitine, which we mentioned a minute ago, which is going to help your body use fat for energy and generally energize you. Okay, if you're finding that you're sluggish, a bit lethargic, having L-carnitine in your diet is going to be vital. Secondly, vitamin B, probably vitamin B12 is going to be vital. Vitamin B6, you're going to be deficient in them more than likely, so it's worth supplementing. You can get a general vitamin B complex, that will probably help you out massively. An iron supplement, again, without eating certain types of red meat, you're probably going to be deficient in iron. The list could go on. What I'll do, because this is something that I think a lot of people could benefit from, I'll put together over the coming weeks a list and a video of supplements that vegans should be taking, because it is something, everyone knows my stance on vegans and vegetarians, a bit of a controversial one, but in my opinion, for whatever reason you choose to do it, good on you, great. It's probably the morally right decision to do, considering how animals are treated these days, but it's unhealthy. Simple as that. Yep, it is unhealthy and often very ill-informed. So I will give you a bit more information on that, but as a starting point, go to upfitness.com, get the Live Up Essentials for women, and then add to that iron, a vitamin B complex, and L-carnitine. You probably go okay. Hi, what is your opinion on tracking macros? Rachie, it can be very beneficial. The thing with tracking macros, for me, its biggest strength is awareness. It's making you aware of the food that you're putting in, what is in it, how much is in it, and what effect that's going to have on your body. Now, do I think that tracking macros is a smart idea long term? No, I do not. One of the biggest problems with the fitness industry now is that it's creating obsessive disorders with food, with training, with all sorts of stuff, with social media. That's very damaging. So is tracking macros something that you can do? Absolutely. If it will help you learn about your food, help you understand what's going in, understand the interface and what comes out based on what goes in, then yeah, very useful. But should you be doing it long term? No, you shouldn't. Use it as an education and then let it go. Hatsi, cheers, mate. Got the UP Amigas. Off the top of my head, Hatsi, I cannot remember the content on them. I have a set in there, but I'm not going to run out of camera to go grab them. So just check on the back and then work it out. You can even use your calculator. It's not like we're in school now when your teacher said, no, you've got to use your head. It's not like you're ever going to have a calculator everywhere you move. Mrs. Teacher, how little did you know? Water break. Right, so we've got some spare time. So I'm going to dip into my little book. Ooh, this is another one which is probably going to strike a few chords with some people who like to have their chords struck. Tolerance. Why are people fat? This is going to divide a lot of you, and I'm completely open to debate, but just make sure your debate is educated, otherwise I'll probably not answer you. Yes. I believe in tolerance. I believe that we should be tolerant to everyone and everything. However, what is one of the biggest reasons why so many people are fat, out of shape, and unhealthy. I'll tell you why. It's because we're not allowed as professionals, as friends, family members, people who are concerned about these people's health, we're not allowed to tell them that they are fat and unhealthy because that would be bullying. That's not okay. From my own personal experience, so for those of you who know me, you will know, so those of you who don't, you won't. I was very, 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 very overweight my whole life. It plagued me constantly. I have a constant struggle with my weight. I was enormous. And what was the thing that changed that? Not necessarily bullying, although it certainly happened, just in a very odd way, but desperation to change. And if it wasn't for other external influences making me feel like shit, then I never would have changed. If anyone out there who's ever undergone a massive change, why did you do it? You did it because something or someone affected you and made you think, do you know what, this isn't right, this isn't okay. We, as a population, as a culture, need to stop being so bloody tolerant of overweight, unhealthy, fat pansies. Tell people, don't be afraid of it, hell, send them to me and I'll tell them how it is in a nice way. This is one of the issues, which is why so many of us are overweight now, so many of us are unhealthy, and mentally, we're not in a good place because we're so damn entitled. That's my little rant on that over. That was another note I made this week to fill time. But yeah, do feel free to come back at me on that. You can agree or disagree. I'm happy to hear them. Thank you. There are a couple that you've mentioned I'll start taking. A video would be great though. No worries, Chris, for that. I will put that in my notes and I'll write that down. My pen, I can't remember where I put my pen, but I'll write in my notes shortly. Ardsley Laura, thumbs up. Ooh, we've got more space, so I might be able to have a rant again. Convenience food. Ooh. Convenience food. That's another reason we're all fat. We're all trying to find the quickest way to do anything. Now, I am guilty of being the world's laziest person in the kitchen. I can't stand cooking. It bores me to death. It frustrates me to death. Believe it or not, I actually get anxious about the thought of cooking. Now, this inevitably, I think, is something that plagues a lot of people, and it's why most of us go for convenience foods. We decide to pick something that's fast, we go out and eat because we don't want to have to put the effort into meal prep, we don't have to put the effort, especially if you're a singleton, somehow you live alone, you don't live with a family, you don't live with roommates. It's harder to motivate yourself to cook for just you than it is to cook for a lot of people. But the fact is, those of you out there who want to get lean, you're gonna have to put a little bit of work in. If you're going out and eating for convenience, you're eating at restaurants, you're eating at even little healthy delis, you never know what's in your food. Most places that are selling you food, they have to put stuff in it to make you come back. It has to taste nice. So yeah, you may think, I'm just having some sweet potato. Yeah, that sweet potato is doused in sugar and honey and this, that, and the other to make it taste a certain way. So another reason why a lot of you may well be struggling with dropping body fat is that you're eating for convenience too often, rather than putting the effort into genuinely eating clean food that you've prepared. And yes, I'm guilty of it, this is why I say it. You're trying to find convenient foods. Instead of eating a meal, you're eating a protein bar because some advert in a muscle and fitness magazine said that it was healthy. Okay, it's not healthy, it's a product. Eat a proper food. You don't have a shake instead of a meal. The shake is very, very convenient. Yes, absolutely, there's no prep time. But is it gonna help you progress towards your goals as fast as a meal? No, it is not. Try and shake off that notion, folks. Crystal, I just wish I lived nearer to one of your gyms. My nearest is over 200 miles away. I need one-to-one. I know online wouldn't be for me. I need my own evil Steve like Jem Atkinson. Crystal and Villa, listen, the results that we get from online are just as good as the results we get from one-to-one. You may be surprised because essentially what you have with one-to-one is somebody like me talking to you daily via, obviously you'll be with me specifically in our forums, our online coaching forums. Every single person that does online training with us gets put into the live UP forum, or the Live Up forum, which is something that I run daily. You'll see videos from me in there daily. You will converse and interact with me daily, so I will be on your case for a start. But secondly, you have 24/7 access to a UP trainer. You would be amazed what you can achieve with that kind of information and that kind of support, and to a degree, that kind of pressure and accountability on you. You might surprise yourself, so it's worth looking into. Anyone out there who doesn't live near one of our gyms, like Crystal has just said, Remember, we do online coaching. You can do one-to-one online coaching, which means you get a specific coach who is there to write a program for you based on the information that you've given us. You will get a specific diet, you'll get a specific meal plan. That is our online one-to-one coaching, and that can be done anywhere in the world. There is no restriction on where it can be done anywhere in the world. We have trainers in most time zones now. Okay, this is very, very important for you to remember. Just because you're not near a gym doesn't mean you can't do online training or some form of training with UP. Of course, there's going to be a few of you out there saying, oh yeah, but I can't afford one-to-one online because it's expensive. And this is exactly why the Live Up program was put together. We wanted to meet the requests that a lot of you are putting in for a lower cost product, and that is where Live Up comes in. Now, Live Up is not specific to you, it's not a diet specific to you, but what it is the best of every single program I ever wrote, put into one program, in order to get the best possible results out of you. And trust me, it is smashing it. We're getting some immense results out of people from all walks of life, all ages. I do make personally custom adjustments along the way, and that's just 50 quid a month, £50 a month UK. So think about that. It doesn't matter what you may perceive that you can afford or what you may perceive you may get out of it. You can't really lose with UP's online products. I know it's easy for me to say that because I'm UP Online, but trust me. Best pre and post workout meal within a half an hour gap. Post workout for me is always going to be something quite light. So if you're having a meal, I would actually just have, if it's within a half an hour, I would have my protein shake post-workout. Then I would have something like rice or rice pudding, white potato, something very healthy. I wouldn't even necessarily add protein to that straight away because you may not be able to eat it and it may cause a bit of excessive stress on your diet. Pre-workout, again, I would suggest fats and protein, something relatively easy, even something like an omelette can work. Unless you're absolutely shredded, if you are diced already, you're very, very lean, you can probably afford to put a few carbs in there. So you can have something like, salmon and rice, again, or salmon and potato, which you can get your fats, can get your protein, and get your carbs. Emily, what do I think about carb cycling? I love carb cycling. Carb cycling is epic. Carb cycling is absolutely awesome. Carb cycling is something that, for me, I introduce after a period of linear dieting. So I see how far I can get by keeping it as simple as possible with linear dieting. And by that, I mean keeping macronutrients the same and just creating a nice, simple calorie taper. Once the body kind of plateaus with that, that's when I introduce carb cycling. And that's usually when most people are relatively lean. So carb cycling is awesome. Love it. If you do your online program, you'll have to join another local gym. You will have to join a gym, yes. However, if you do one-to-one online, as in the specific coaching, then your coach will design a program based on what you have. So then you don't necessarily need to join a gym, but you are going to have some equipment. What can you do for slight cellulite on abdominal area, stomach, when the stomach area is relatively flat? Cellulite is actually collapsed protein structures underneath your skin. There's a couple of layers of skin, and they're kind of like pillars. I explained it a little bit last week. Underneath your skin, it's supported by a series of pillars. Now, what happens if you've been excessively fat over time, or you've taken in, potentially an unhealthy diet or illness? It kind of eats away at these protein structures, and the pillars fall down. When they fall down, it creates troughing. You've got to imagine just like a leaking roof. If a pillar underneath it falls down, and the roof will bow. That's essentially what's happening in your skin. So by dropping fat, it's going to reduce the amount, or certainly the appearance of cellulite on the surface. But if you're already fairly lean, it could be a skin thickness issue. Are you nutrient dense with your foods? Are you malnourished, or are you eating enough food? Obviously, if you are malnourished, your skin is going to be thinner. The thinner the skin, the more apparent the cellulite. Okay, so you have to make sure that when you're dieting to get lean, and when you're training, that you're not overtraining and you are thriving, not just surviving with your food, that you're nourished. If you are nourished, then your skin is nourished, your cells are nourished, and it's going to reduce the appearance of that cellulite. However, if you do have fat to lose, then lose a bit more fat, and you may find the cellulite disappears as well. Why does being lean, Danny Camp, allow you to eat more? Because your body is basically learning how to use fuel better. The way to think about it is that, let's say your body is an athlete. The more your body practices something, the better it gets at it. The more your body learns to burn fuel, the better it gets at burning fuel. We've all got that friend who eats and eats and eats and eats and eats whatever the hell they want, but they stay lean, they look jacked, they look awesome. That person's body genetically burns fuel extremely efficiently. Now, when you don't have much body fat, your body is going to use the food that you give it for fuel. It's not necessarily going to store it. This is especially true for things like carbohydrates. Now, of course, if you're then creating a bigger demand for that fuel by training, there's a greater demand for carbohydrates. There's also a greater demand for protein to be turned into muscle because you're creating a demand to build muscle. All in all, the cumulative effect of all of that is that when you don't have as much body fat, your body is not going to use that body fat as energy, okay? Because it can't, it's not there. Therefore, it will use fuel considerably better. Laura Cupcakes, I can't find substitutes for the recommended supplements on the online program, or do I have to buy UP supplements? Can I find it? Of course you can find. What I would suggest is that, Laura, one of the issues that I think a lot of people have is that they try and save money on supplements, and it's a false economy, because people will then go into, Holland and Barrett or Boots or this, that and the other, find the cheapest possible supplements of what they can get, and then wonder why 6 months down the line nothing has worked, yet they've still spent 200 quid a month on supplements. Why? Because you spent 200 quid on poor quality supplements. What you have to remember with anything like that, in the same way as you spend £5,000 a year on a poor quality personal trainer, you're not getting results. You can spend £5,000 a year on a supplement. You're not getting results if it's poor quality. However, you can spend £6,000 a year on a supplement that is good quality, and 3 months into that year, you're already at your goal, because what you are buying is exactly what you think you are buying. This is a difference. So I would always, of course, I would recommend buying the UP supplements, because we know what's in them, we know they are quality. And all of you out there, some of you may wonder how we get absolutely the best results out of our clients of any other group of personal trainers in the world. It's because every single key detail is dialed into within an inch of its life, and this includes the supplements. Do you think that we would give our clients supplements that are poor quality? No, of course not. Who gets the best results out of their clients across the world? UP. This is not a coincidence. Don't fall into a false economy by trying to save money by buying lower quality products. Crystal and Vanilla, thanks for all your advice and guidance, it's much appreciated. No problem. Is it compulsory to take supplements for a lean body? It's not compulsory, but it's certainly very, very beneficial. Rachie, thank you for your answer about macros. I go to the gym at 6:15 a.m. as it's the only time that suits me, and find that too early to eat breakfast. Should I be fitting a pre-workout meal, shake or snack? Rachie, certainly for me, I would not weight train, ideally on an empty stomach. However, if you can't stomach a full meal before you go to the gym at that time in the morning, then have your post-workout shake pre-workout. Make sure you have that shake beforehand as soon as you wake up potentially. Then you can go and train, and that's probably going to be relatively beneficial, but you don't want to be weight training fasted. Matty N26, you the man. No, you the man, Matty, you the man. And everyone else is the man in here. And everyone else is also the woman in here. This is 2018, we are equal. Danny Camp, is there a follow-on product from the Live Up after the 12 weeks? Yes, Danny Camp, what happens after the 12 weeks is that we have developed a bunch of specialization programs. So theoretically, providing everybody has been very, very compliant and they've done their job, the 12 weeks should be enough for most people who have got into the program from day one to get amazing results. Now, this is showing to be very, very true for a lot of the Live Up participants. They're getting phenomenal results. At that 12-week point, we understand that a lot of you are going to be looking at your body and you're going to be saying, do you know what, I wish I could build my bum a little bit more, or I wish I could tighten my abs up a little bit more, or do you know what, I want some slightly rounded shoulders. So what we've done at that stage, once you hit the 12-week mark, you've got a choice really. If you feel like you've got more to go, you can go back to the beginning and you can repurchase and continue through, or you can start one of the specialization programs. When you start one of the specialization programs, this changes everything ever so slightly and it dials you in on specific body parts that you want to change. So it does have a follow-on. Right, we are down to 1 minute 50 seconds. Instagram is going to be kicking me off shortly. So you know what happens at this stage. We have a quick fire round. You ask me the question, I'll answer it quickly. So try to make them short and snappy, and I'll do my best to get that information there. YouTube, same goes for you. Make sure with any of this, if you're watching this on the Second Chance Catch Up TV, then please do comment in the boxes below this YouTube video, or if it's been reposted on Facebook by this time that you're watching it, comment in the box below and I'll always endeavor to answer you as best I can. I can't stomach protein shakes. Is there anything else I can have instead? FLC, you can try and take amino acids, branched chain amino acids. If you go to our website, upfitness.com, go to the search bar and type in Amplify. That's Amplify. you will be taken to our branched chain amino acid supplement, which is something that you can substitute shakes for. It's more of a fruit juicy style drink as opposed to a thick shake. That can be taken post-workout and during a workout because it's a lot lighter. It's a lot less likely to make you nauseous. So dear, much appreciated for your advice. Can you suggest me the best quality pre and post-workout supplement? For me, the best pre-workout is probably going to be, something simple like caffeine, but I have to say, if you have to have a pre-workout, you may want to look at your recovery factors, your sleep, etc. Don't ignore the signs if you're tired, but something like caffeine and our supplement Focus, which again you can find on the upfitness.com website. Go to the search bar and type in Focus. It's an amazing nootropic style pre-workout. And post-workout, best post-workout supplement for me is always going to be a basic whey protein shake. If you want to add carbs to that, I would recommend adding real food such as oats, such as rice, something like that, as opposed to adding cyclic dextrin or glucose, anything that other people like to add. It usually overcomplicates something that should be very, very simple. 5 seconds remaining before I am out of here. So is anyone else coming in? If not, peace out. Thank you all for coming. I will see you very, very soon. Bye-bye. YouTube, back down to you. That was our hour-long live feed over on @UPFitness Live. You can go onto Instagram, you can follow me at Elliot Upton, or you can pop over and you should be popping over to @UPFitness Live so you can watch this live and interact in real time. I hope you have enjoyed this. If so, do please put your questions in the comments box below and make sure you share this to your Facebook, share it to your friends, tag people in. Obviously like it, subscribe, show me some support. Let's get this channel, this is a YouTube thing to say, let's get this channel up to 1 million followers. And I believe it's at like 177 right now, so you've got some work to do. So good luck with that. Anyway, thank you for watching. Peace out.